This is one of the greatest albums of the 1960s, Odessey Oracle by the Zombies. And now there's a brand new mono reissue made with the band's full support. The promotion says that it was remastered in mono from the original tapes. But what does that exactly mean? And how does it compare to the original CBS mono? Or this, its most recent mono outing on vinyl, this 2015 Repertoire reissue. I'm Andrew from Parlogram. Let's find out. Odessey Oracle was recorded at Abbey Road and Olympic Studios in 1967, with Rod Argent and Chris White creating the mono mix. By the time the LP was released 5 months later in April 1968, mono was virtually a dead format, and CBS demanded a stereo version. Rod and Chris agreed and had one made, but at their own expense. Collectors have long valued the UK CBS mono as the definitive version, although original copies are scarce. A top condition example can cost over £1,000. The album was never issued in mono in the United States, where it was only issued in stereo on the Date label. Now, this new reissue claims to be remastered from the original tapes, but no evidence is presented in the notes or anywhere else that this record was cut from the long-lost mono master tape. But before we do some comparisons, let's take a closer look at the new edition. So this is the newly remastered in mono version of the Zombies' 1968 masterpiece Odessey Oracle, one of Rolling Stone's 500 greatest albums of all time, it says here. And who's to argue? Right, let's get it unpacked. Got my trusty plectrum in hand from the characters, and let's get into it. Nice and smooth. So, inside the box we've got this insert with this great picture of the group at Abbey Road on the 3rd of June 1967, recording Odessey Oracle. And on the back we've got, as it says, the studio notes for that day, which show the placement of the instruments, what we used, what microphones we used, and various other technical details, which I always like to see. And then we've got on the bottom the original 1968 album notes with a quote from Shakespeare and Rod Argent, and some recording credits recorded at Abbey Road and Olympic from June to November 67, produced, mixed, engineered, assisted, and the original artwork and design. That's the original credits. These 2025 credits say archive and restoration by Matthew White, Jamie White, Alec Palau and Nick Robbins, remastered by Ruben Cohen at Lursen Mastering, 2025 design by Darren Evans. Thank you, Michael Graves. Okay, so this is on Beechwood Park Records, which I believe is the Zombies' own label. So good to see they've got back control of their masters. But is this from the original master? Well, we'll have a look at that later on. First, let's have a look at the record. It comes in a bog standard paper inner sleeve, which I don't like to see, to be honest. I like to see the polylined inners. I don't think they cost much more, and they make the difference often between a beautiful playing surface and a scratched one. So, you know, I'm not a fan of these inner sleeves at all. For an album like this, I think we should have a polylined inner. Anyway, there we go. There's the label. It's the kind of colour of the original CBS label, this sort of autumnal orange. Don't worry, I will be cleaning this before playing it. Looks okay. Looks pretty clean. And these lights will show up everything, so if it looks good in this light, it's probably okay. There's a bit of dust there, but seems to be a solid piece of vinyl. Can't tell if it's warped or not by just looking at it like this. Have to get it on the turntable. But there it is. That's the Zombies Odessey Oracle on Beechwood Park Records. On the back of the sleeve, you've got some new sleeve notes by David Fricke, which I haven't read yet, but I'm looking forward to getting into those. The cover itself is of quite thin cardstock and is unlaminated and has quite a matte finish, as you can see there. I guess they were trying to keep the costs down, which is understandable, especially for people who already own this album in stereo and don't want to pay a premium for buying it again. As with every new record I buy, I always clean it first on my record cleaning machine, which is this Loricraft PRC4, which has served me fantastically over the years. And this is how I do it. Let's get it spinning and brush off the excess dust. Then apply some of my secret record cleaning fluid. And then just get that spinning around. And the brush is already wet. I'm not putting a dry brush on this record, so a moistened brush goes on it first and gently spread that around the record. You don't need to scrub. It's a new record and this is a good machine. So we start the pump and we start the arm and we pop it in the center of the record and let it do its job. Although I don't have a first press here today, I've owned multiple copies over the years and archived my best ones to high resolution digital, and that's the benchmark I'm using in this test. Like many dedicated 1960s mono mixes, this original is punchy and vivid. The vocals are clean, forward and crisp, cutting through with natural presence. There's a real snap to the rhythm section, and the top end sparkles without getting splashy. Overall, this first mono pressing is loud, clear and dynamic. This record just shines from start to finish and sets a high bar the reissues have to clear. Now, let's take a look at the 2015 Repertoire mono. The 2015 edition was mastered by John Astley, reportedly from a dub of a mono LP, and is a significant step down from the original. To my ears, the mid-range energy that makes the original so engaging just isn't there. The top end sounds dull and at times washy, which could be the sound of noise reduction attempting to suppress vinyl artifacts. As a result, the sound is flatter and softer. It's certainly listenable, but ultimately disappointing compared to the original. Jamie White said that he and Matt White carried out fresh transfers of the tapes from the Odessey and Oracle sessions, collating a new mono master, which to me suggests that this version was rebuilt from the original multi-track session tapes. Compared with the original, it's a bit more mild-mannered. Vocals are slightly muted or constrained, and the mid-range bite is softer, but it does sound cleaner than the 2015 one, and is the best modern option I've heard so far. My copy was flat and clean, with only low-level noise between tracks. Perfectly fine, even without the 180-gram tag. At around €25 or $25, it's excellent value, when an original can cost £1,000 or more. I don't think this edition needs a deluxe gatefold or box set. It's not earth-shattering, but I could see it paired with a stereo edition in a future deluxe box set. David Fricke's notes are good, but printed over the rear photo, they're difficult to read. I prefer to have the original back cover restored, like on the 2015, with the new notes on a separate insert. The archival Abbey Road recording sheet reproduction is a lovely touch, but for the artwork, I actually favour the 2015 cover and its poly-lined inner. The original 1968 mono remains the definitive listen, dynamic, lively and beautifully voiced. Unless you're collecting variants, I'd pass on the overly processed 2015 Repertoire. For me, the 2025 is the keeper. It's honest, consistent, and affordable. Don't expect a revelation over the original, but its flaws don't interfere with the music, which is the main point. The bottom line is, if you love this album and want a reliable mono copy without breaking the bank, the 2025 wins in terms of value and listenability. If you already own a quality 68 and a good mono cartridge, you're sitting comfortably at the top. If you've bought this pressing, do let me and everyone else know what you think about it in the comments. If you'd like to know more about this album, its inspiration and the stories behind the songs, check out our dedicated video on that right here. But that's all for this one, so I'll say bye for now and thanks for watching.